Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me back in the studio is Blake Harrison.
How are you, mate? It's been a long time.
Has it been 2 months since you've been in here? Or longer?
Longer. Because I was in Australia for over 2 months.
Wow.
And I reckon before that we were doing a few home ones.
Yeah.
I reckon it's been 3 or more months.
So you were sick of the sight of me before you even went?
100%.
Yeah.
As everyone usually is. So...
I'll tell you what people aren't sick of. Them sugary sweets.
Fat candy! Never sick of the fat candy. Get your Skittles now. You can get a discount code as well from us. Sweet MMA gets you money off your fat candy if you go onto, what's the website, Stu Whiffin?
Fatcandy.com.
Fatcandy.com.
And yes, head over to there and use that discount code Sweet MMA.
There you go. Right. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we have. Because
obviously this is our pre-UFC 315 show, but we did just have a card in Des Moines, in Iowa.
Yeah.
It was it was an all right card, but I'm very much interested in chatting about a couple of fights that were on that card. And I think we should start with the main event, which was Corey Sandhagen versus Davison Figueiredo. Did you watch the fight?
I did.
Yeah. What did you make of it? Because it was a strange one, wasn't it? I have to say, I absolutely loved Sandhagen's post-fight interview where Bisping was like, "Oh, what a shame because it ended in an injury," and he was like, "No, not a shame. Did that on purpose. If you don't know how the 50-50 position works in jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get your leg popped."
Yeah.
I know. I worked with Ryan Hall. He got his leg popped.
Yeah.
And I quite liked that sort of brutal honesty from him.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't think it was Bisping's intention to take any of the shine away from Sandhagen, but I think that narrative could have taken the shine away from him. And Sandhagen was just like, "No, give me that shine back right now.
Yeah.
Let me shower in it." And that was it. I quite liked it. What did you make of the fight and Figueiredo's kind of grappling heavy?
I was surprised at it.
Yeah.
I thought Sandhagen looked solid in the first round.
Yeah. Well, he smashed him up, didn't he? Yeah.
And the second round, we didn't get to the end of the second because it was a strange kind of bit of groundwork, really. And then all of a sudden, you just sort of see him I'm only basing this on the replay. You sort of see him sort of move a little, Sandhagen, and then you just see him wince, Figgy, and then he's tapping, isn't he? Like
the knee pops when they're in a position where their legs are locked. Then when Sandhagen releases that moment and Figueiredo's fallen to his back, the damage is already done to his knee. Yeah. Sandhagen, again, an aggressive streak in him, just starts raining down punches anyway, and then the ref comes in and stops it because Figueiredo's tapping to the strikes. But it was obviously because of the injury that he was tapping. He wasn't just going to tap to strikes. I liked Corey in this fight. He was very dangerous. He was aggressive. I think even in his own interviews post-fight, he was talking about how he didn't expect the fight to have so much grappling in it, but it only had that grappling in it because Figueiredo was trying to shoot and trying to take him into those situations. And Sandhagen has really shown over the last few years how much his ground game has come on.
Yeah.
And
working with Ryan Hall is going to massively benefit that, right? And now Trevor Whitman.
Which you mentioned as well, who, Sandhagen always had great striking. We think about that knockout of Frankie Edgar where that jumping knee was just incredible. And then, who did he do it to? I want to say it was Marlon Moraes that he spinning wheel kicked as well. So I think if I'm remembering that correctly, he's got legit fantastic striking, which is why we've spoken about him versus Sean O'Malley for many, many years now. That kind of long, gangly, phenomenal strikers. Yeah. So, that we know he's got that. Now he's implemented this side of his game, and we saw that against, was it Chito Vera or Rob Font or someone like that? He wrestled
over both, obviously.
But he wrestled the hell out of them as well. So he's just so well-rounded now. And at the end of the fight, he's calling for a title shot. How do you think bantamweight plays out? Do you think Corey Sandhagen is getting the next shot at the bantamweight belt?
Well, I'm looking at the rankings now. Post this weekend, Figgy's dropped down to 6. Corey stayed at 4.
Yep.
Above him is Umar Petyayan and Sugar Sean. I'm still disappointed that they've given O'Malley the shot.
Yeah,
I don't think he deserved that. I thought he was beaten convincingly by Merab, and I think Umar got beaten by Merab. So for me, it should be between. It should have been between Petyayan and Corey Sandhagen. And I think, for me, as much as I'd like to see Corey fight for the belt, if O'Malley loses to Merab, which I think he will, I want to see Sugar versus Corey, because I think that's a fun fight. That
is a fun fight, but then what do you do for the belt?
I guess it all plays. I suppose we need to see what happens in the next fight, because if Sugar wins, then there's fighters in there that deserve. Umar's going to be crying out for that, isn't he?
Yeah, because he's just got. It's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bantamweight's difficult at the moment, isn't it? You got O'Malley. Merab is happening. If Merab wins, I think you have to give the shot to Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah,
because Umar's lost to Merab. Petyayan got 50-45'd.
Yeah.
By Merab. And it was not like a close one like the Umar Sandhagen fight. It was dominant. Like, he absolutely smashed Petyayan. You can't sell me on Yan versus Merab 2. I'm not interested in it. If Sugar Sean wins, I don't think they'll give Merab a rematch. You can't give Umar the shot. He's coming off a loss.
Yeah, he's quite a strange setup, isn't it?
I think you could give it to Corey, and that's a fun fight, but Corey is only on a 1-fight win streak, whereas a rematch between Sean O'Malley and Petyayan is potentially something people would be interested in, because a lot of people scored the fight they had, that 3-round fight a while ago. They scored that for Yan. A lot of people did. So that rematch could make sense. Yan is on a 2-fight win streak rather than just a 1-fight win streak like Sandhagen. And Yan does have a win over Sandhagen. So we're in a difficult spot with bantamweight. But I do think if O'Malley wins, you could do Sandhagen. And I would love to see it because I'm a big Sandhagen fan. But I equally think you could do Petyayan.
Yeah.
If Merab wins, though, it's got to be Sandhagen, because I don't know who else you could throw in there and say this makes sense.
Well, obviously, just sitting out, behind Corey is Song Yudong, who's obviously just come off that win against Cejudo, wasn't it? But he's got losses. He's
got a loss to
Corey
Sandhagen and Yan, hasn't he?
Yeah. So
they've all fought each other. I think it kind of goes to show that the bantamweight division is a very, very competitive division. They've all kind of got losses to each other. But the person I am most excited about, despite the fact that he has got a few losses to some of the top guys in there, is Corey Sandhagen. I've always been a massive fan of his. We've had him on the show. He speaks really well. He's clearly making improvements along with Ryan Hall at with his grappling. Now Trevor Whitman with not just striking, but I think mindset. I think the mindset thing would be really great for Corey Sandhagen. And it seems to be showing through in this latest fight. So I really want to see Sandhagen get his title shot. But I think he's more likely to get it if Merab wins than if Sean O'Malley wins.
Yeah.
But I would rather see the Sean O'Malley-Sandhagen fight than Merab versus Sandhagen.
Yeah.
But I'd like them both.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting situation to be in. But he's talked about being the backup fighter. Maybe that will help his cause if he was the backup fighter. I'm not sure. But it's sort of still a bit up in the air at bantamweight.
I just hope he gets his shot, and I hope, because, previously when he's fought for the very, very top of it, he's just fallen short. And I'm hoping, maybe the move to training with Whitman might just edge him into, proper champion material.
Well, who's Whitman got now? Because a lot of Whitman had that really small stable of fighters. He had Usman, Gaethje, Rose Namajunas. I feel like, and I might be wrong in saying this, but the situation between Pat Berry and Trevor Whitman, I'm not aware of like a bust up or anything like that, but Trevor Whitman seems to have stepped away ever so slightly, as far as I can see. I might be wrong in that. He's still very close with Gaethje. Usman hasn't fought in ages.
We're about to see him fight, aren't we? That's been announced.
Yes. Who is it? Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there and if Trevor Whitman's there. But maybe Trevor does need now some new, fresh guys. And I love the pairing of him and Corey Sandhagen. They seem like two intelligent people with great fight IQ.
Absolutely.
So I'm really interested in seeing where that partnership leads to. Figgy's going to be out a while with that busted knee, isn't he? So I don't really know what's next for him.
There's always going to be fun fights available for him, but like you say,
Go back down to flyweight?
I think that's probably...
Because he could get into a title shot with Pantoja pretty quick if Pantoja's still the champ. But I mean, he's going to have time off now to mend that knee. And he's... what's Figgy, like 37? He's going to be... You don't recover from injuries as quickly, do you, at that age? So, it'd be interesting to see what's next for him as well. He's going to be out for a while. But fingers crossed Corey Sandhagen gets a title shot next. That's what I'd like to see.
Definitely.
Renida Ridder upsets Bo Nickal. I mean, say it was an upset. I'm pretty sure in the pre-fight show we were like not overly convinced by Bo Nickal, and Renida Ridder's a
one championship
champion. So... the furore around Bo Nickal, we've never been overly into it, I don't think, particularly you. I think you've never been overly impressed with him. And then the Paul Craig fight made a lot of people sit back and go, you've won that, but it wasn't a great showing by Bo Nickal at all. And here we saw that he was just up against too much. Renida Ridder swept him when Bo did get the takedown. He was competitive with him on the ground, got it back to the feet, and that's where Bo just showed that he's maybe just not had enough fights. He's not had enough in-cage experience to combat that, and kind of he's been very good at being like the hammer and not so much the nail. And
and we're talking now about that win coming by way of Bo Nickal not being good enough. Let's talk about how good, the Riddler looked. He looked absolutely fantastic. And, I mean, the knee on that liver shot.
Yeah, it looked brutal, didn't it? And he'd ripped the body a couple of times prior to him. He softened him up a bit, didn't he?
Quite a lot.
And I think he said in his post-fight interview, I saw that he didn't like it, so I just kept doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, is what he said,
absolutely. I think... and I think post media stuff, I think Nickal acknowledged, and the loss, expressing gratitude for the experience and all of that, and has, vowed to return stronger, all the usual stuff. But, he has had a lot of attention and hype attached to him, and I think, if anything, this might be a really positive thing. As time moves on, I think having that loss and kind of resetting and going, right, well, look, I'm not this unstoppable force. I need to go and work on this. I need to get more experience. This was great experience. You're fighting somebody who's very, very, very good, and it highlighted flaws in in your game. And so hopefully he'll go away and work on that. And I think he did say that. He's glad he fought him now and not in a few years, because he thinks that Nickal is championship material.
That's a good thing to say, just to make your own win look better as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course,
but that is good of him to say. Renida Ridder is ranked, as it stands, 13. I don't know if these rankings will change, but as it stands, he's ranked 13th. What's next for him, do you think? He called out Sean Strickland, who's number 2. I think that's probably too much of a stretch. I don't think he's going to get that.
He said he's just beaten the best wrestler, and now he wants to beat America's greatest striker. I believe that was the sort of narrative. I mean, I will be amazed if Sean Strickland took that, because that's not a big money fight.
No. And I think Izzy's called out Sean Strickland. And if you're Sean Strickland, I think the Adesanya fight is way bigger. If you lose, you only drop down to 4.
Yeah.
It just makes sense, doesn't it? You're not going to take the Renida Ridder fight. Why would you?
Marvin Vettori's ranked 10th. Creep into the top 10 with a win over him. I think I think he would win.
I think Anthony Hernandez deserves people a bit further ahead. He's put together quite a good win streak. Jared Cannonier, has he got a fight booked?
I think so.
Right, I might have to look that up. Carl Borralio is another one who I feel like he's done enough to have fights further ahead. It should be maybe
looking
like
forwards, not backwards.
Borralio versus Imavov for like number one contender fight or something like that. Because it looks like the DDP versus Hamzat fight is going to be made, but there's no date for it yet.
Dana said that's happening, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he also said Thomas Mill versus John Jones is guaranteed. We haven't seen that still. But I do think there is a high likelihood that DDP versus Hamzat is going to happen this year. It's just when it's going to happen. So Borralio versus Imavov is probably a good shout for a number one contender fight.
Not mad at that, mate.
So Renier Derrida, somewhere like just someone in the top 10, I guess. He's not made like a huge splash, and Bo Nickal, as much as he's a big name, he hasn't necessarily earned the respect, particularly outside of North America. I don't think. I think a lot of people outside of North America are like, sure, Penn State, collegiate wrestler, that's great, but we don't massively care about that stuff. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. You wanted to talk, I believe, about Jeremy Stephens and Mason Jones.
Absolutely. I thought this was fight of the night. I thought it was fantastic. Mason Jones, former guest of the show, Mason Jones, returning to the UFC after leaving the UFC and notching up a couple of wins over in Cage Warriors. Jeremy Stephens obviously left the UFC, had a few wins in the BK, KKK, with BK, whatever it is, all of them. BKFC, that one.
Did you just call it the BKKK? Because that sounds really problematic.
No, but there's a BK this and BK, there's loads of them in there, but the main one, I guess. Is it the main one? I don't know.
BKFC, I believe is what they're called.
Is that Connor's one?
Yeah, that's the one.
That
Connor's
one.
Yeah,
that. And obviously, Jeremy Stephens, I don't know if he's more famous for being a fighter or more famous for being who the fuck is that guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all the same, he's a big name, the biggest name Mason Jones has ever fought. And I guess we expected a big scrap from this. And we got a big scrap for 2 rounds. It was fantastic. Them first 2 rounds were just... Mason Jones has got a chin on him, as Jeremy Stephens.
Yeah.
I thought Mason Jones looked absolutely fantastic, like controlled all of the exchanges, fought really smart, amazing head kicks, like just looked really, really good. It looked to me that was somebody that wanted to go, I do belong in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, whatever's happened in the past, I've moved on, I'm better now, and here's my statement. And he acknowledged post-fight, I gave you 2 good rounds. The 3rd round, I mean, he'd been bashed up a bit, Mason Jones, and he just wrestled him and controlled him on the ground, fought smart, and I think it was the perfect return for Mason Jones, to be a veteran and to do it in style, and
he certainly showed he can have fun fights. How much do you think that 3rd round, that decision to control things and take it to the ground, how much do you think that's hurt Mason Jones? Because this fight we were briefly about to start talking about this before we rolled the cameras, and you said save it, but this fight really could have been fight of the night. It was a really, particularly for the first 2 rounds, really great fight. Do you think he's been punished and he's not got any performance bonus? There's no fight night. There was 4 performance bonuses. I can't remember exactly who got them now, but Mason Jones.
Did Rodriguez get one for knocking out Ponzinibbio?
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
Maybe Bokayev got one because he had a good performance. Gillian Robertson maybe got one. Again, I don't know for sure. Yeah. But, and don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away from those fighters, but this could have been fight of the night. Easy.
It was the 2 most exciting rounds of the event.
100%. And they haven't got that 50 grand bonus. Is it because of the way Mason approached that 3rd round? But I understand it. He just wanted to win the fight, win his fight back into the UFC. But I just wonder if that's taken away from him in the eyes of the brass at the UFC a little bit.
Look, I think, yes, he could have gone out there and potentially got... Jeremy Stephens is a dangerous guy, even in round 3. He's got really big hands and could quite easily have knocked Mason Jones out. And I think I'm sure the UFC wanted to see it toe-to-toe for the third round, but you're just back in the UFC. You want to secure your contract. You want to, you've just delivered 2 absolute cracking rounds. What? You've got to fight smart to a degree, and if they've punished him for that, then that's fucking dirty. And it wouldn't surprise me, though. It wouldn't surprise me. But, looking forward to seeing him fight again, and I think he made a lot of new fans that night with that performance.
Yep.
For Jeremy Stephens, I don't really know what's next. I don't think he looked fantastic. I think, he was standing toe to toe, but I don't know. I don't. It's obviously not the big return that he wanted. He'll probably go back over to.
Well, he was only on a 1-fight contract.
Was it?
And I think Des Moines is maybe like his hometown.
Right.
So I think it was a special little thing for him. But the likelihood is he'll go back to a BKFC or something like that now, I would imagine.
Yeah. BKFC sounds like a burger.
Other notable wins on the card, Montel Jackson cemented his place in the top 15 at bantamweight. He's on a 6-fight win streak now in a hard-fought fight over Marcos. I think he's someone that could slip under the radar a little bit. He's not got many notable wins, not against like names that people care about. But I wouldn't be surprised if in a year's time we're looking at this guy and going, oh, should he be getting a title shot soon? Especially if Merab does just run through a lot of this division, we're going to need contenders soon. So Montel Jackson is someone I'd like to see properly tested and given someone high up in that top 10 space.
Julian Robinson beat
Marina Rodriguez.
Who retired.
Yeah. Marina Rodriguez a while ago was one of my faves, great Muay Thai style. I thought she could go on and achieve more than she actually did. She came up short. Grappling was a bit of an issue for her. Yes, I did get it wrong. Thank you for pointing that out, Stu Whiffen. But yeah, I think Gillian Roberts, looks like, she's on a real good roll at the moment. And I feel like I've seen her before and been like, it's Gillian Robertson, who cares? But she's on a really good little streak at the moment. Where's she ranked currently? She is ranked 9th now. She's moved up a few spots. She's now ranked 9th at strawweight. I think she spent some of her time at flyweight previously, and clearly strawweight is working for her. I really just want to look up how many wins she is on right now, because I think she has been on she's 16-8, so you can see that there's been adversity there, but she's currently on a 4-fight win streak. Again, not against huge names, Michelle Watson-Gomez, Marina Rodriguez now, but quietly putting together a decent run. She's won 6 of her last 7. 1 loss on there to Tabitha Ricci, which, again, Tabitha Ricci's not like a huge star or a massive top 5 name or anything, but maybe we're seeing an evolution now in Gillian Robertson. She's only 29. She's been fighting for a long time, and I wonder if we're seeing now that she's evolved, coming into her own, and she might be a threat to some of the higher ranked ladies at strawweight. Anything else to talk about from UFC Des Moines?
I don't think so.
D-Rod with a big finish over Ponzinibbio. You saw that knockout, I'm assuming.
We did mention that, yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned D-Rod.
Yeah, I said fight of the night. Did Rodriguez get it over that win over Ponzinibbio?
Do you know what? Well, I don't know. D-Rod's going to be quite offended if that's all we want to say about it. It's a pretty nifty combination.
Yeah, he looked great.
He looked good.
Great.
It was a fun fight. And that's... Misha Tate lost to Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya. It wasn't the most exciting of fights.
I think the sport's evolved beyond Misha Tate now. I think with the evolution in women's MMA and the fact that Misha's not getting any younger, I think, I'm not particularly excited to see her fight.
Fair enough. Before we move on to UFC 315, Dana White has, I think, been announced as the promoter of the latest, is it Canelo Crawford fight? Because it's through TKO Boxing. So that's going to be interesting. Did you see any of that? They had fights at Times Square Did you see any of this over the weekend?
No, I mean, obviously I saw Canelo fight.
Was that in Times Square as well? Again, I don't follow the boxing enough, but I know Ryan Garcia
I watched
had
it
a
this
fight.
morning. I don't know where it was. I literally just put it on YouTube. I think DAZN had put it up on their YouTube page, so I just watched.
Well, anyone that's been watching the boxing is probably going to laugh at what I'm about to say, because maybe I'm getting it all wrong. But as far as I'm aware, Canelo had a fight, Ryan Garcia fought someone, and Devin Haney fought someone.
That's right.
And it all took place in Times Square as part of one of Turki Al-Ashik's kind of events that he's putting on now. And they announced that it will be Canelo v Crawford coming up. The event sounded fun because it's like Times Square, and it always makes me think of like Street Fighter 2, where like people are just fighting on the street and the crowd's gathering around. But actually, it seemed like it was maybe quite a dull affair.
Right, so this is what I saw from it this morning. So I didn't know where it was. I literally had sort of 10 minutes for us to come here. And so I just thought, I'll catch up. They put the Canelo fight up. Also realised it was a decision win. So I just thought, well, I'm not going to have time to watch the whole thing.
Yep.
But I watched the walkout, and I just thought, after watching the kind of Ben fight the week before and seeing the whole of Tottenham's Grand roaring, I was like, this is Canelo. Like, where is this? Because it looked small.
Yeah.
It looked really small. And they had like at the top of the wherever it was, Times Square, you now say, like there was all these flashing lights, and it was like, is that? I don't think that's a crowd. Like, and it looked really small. Yeah. And I remember just thinking, obviously there was talk of Canelo Eubank Jr. and I was like, I think there's more money in Eubank Jr. Ben. I think that would sell out Wembley Stadium in the UK.
Well, I'm assuming that Canelo would sell out loads of stadiums if they wanted to take it to. So I think. Is it Allegiant Stadium, a big stadium in America, is where they're going to have the Canelo Crawford fight, as far as I'm aware. But my understanding is it was a very kind of like limited availability event in Times Square. It was all quite specialist, but it didn't really live up to the hype. You weren't able to just kind of like rock up and see fights, which is what sounds exciting about like a Times Square boxing match, is that there's, you know, thousands of people on the streets trying to get a look at it. Would be pretty incredible, wouldn't it? And it does just remind me of like the opening of, if you've ever played Street Fighter 2 on the Mega Drive or the Super Nintendo or whatever it was, if you're that old, then you will remember that opening
I think when
moment.
the Mega Drive came out, I was probably early 30s.
But for the rest of us young pups, there's a moment just at the start of the loading screen where there's two guys on the street, people are just watching, cars are going by, one guy knocks out the other guy, and it's like, that's what you're kind of expecting. You get a ring in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Like that's what's fun about all of that. And apparently it wasn't that at all. It was all kind of boarded up and sectioned off and all of this stuff.
Just do it in a pub car park.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So it didn't go as well as people wanted, because there was apparently 2 or maybe even 3 fights over the weekend of fights that happened in Times Square where they broke the record for least amount of punches thrown, or not broke the record, but like we're in the top 5 for like least amount of punches thrown in however long. So it seems like it was an incredibly dull set of fights, very underwhelming, not the way you want to necessarily
showcase the biggest stars.
Yeah, and announce your TKO boxing, which apparently Dana White will be the promoter of. So it's going to be interesting to see Dana White's role now. If it's just like, is this a one-off? Is this where it's going? Is TKO boxing now going to have Dana White at the forefront of it? Is he going to be less involved in the UFC? That's something we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I have to say, I'm not against the idea of him being less involved in the promotion of the UFC.
No complaints
I'm
from me.
sure
mate.
he'll be very much involved in things on social media as he normally is, but I have no problem with John Anik taking over a lot of those kind of responsibilities. He's always very, very good in hosting the pre-fight press conferences and stuff like that. So no qualms from me if that is the case. And speaking of the UFC, shall we get into UFC 315?
Just quickly,
Yeah.
somebody who I think was on I think it was about a 67 fight losing streak in the UFC was Smiling Sam Alvey. Did you see his KO at the weekend?
I haven't seen it. I heard he got a win.
Holy shit. It was over Spong and like literally, I think it was karate combat, but Fucking hell, what a knockout. Like,
Really, I'm going to have to go and look on the socials.
Really
and see
impressive,
it.
yeah. So he's smiling again. Good on him.
Sam, good old Sam. Well, he was smiling even when he was on an 8-fight losing streak, so he must be beaming right now.
UFC 315. I mean, this. I'll tell you what. Before we break it down, kind of like let's pan out and look at the whole show. What do you think on it?
2 title fights, 1 potential number 1 contender fight, 1 really fun fight.
Alvarez has pulled out of the Benoit fight.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, that has fucked this right up for me then. When did this happen?
Maybe Sunday.
I'm not look. I deleted my Instagram the other day. I haven't looked at it for a while. That sucks.
Let me just double check.
Has there been a replacement announced? That sucks. That was that was the fight on the card that I thought would be the best fight on the card.
Alvarez withdrew. Yeah.
But no replacement as of yet.
No.
That downgrades it massively for me. I thought that was going to be a really fun fight. Right. Oh, God. I'm starting this with
So
bad
if we
vibes.
pan out and we look at the card on the whole, what are your thoughts on it, Blake?
Shit, mate.
Look, let's start with Bilal and JDM because we're both fans of Jack Della Maddalena, and I also want to throw it out there now that I know he gets so much hype, so much shit, Bilal, for being a very forgettable fighter. The way that he absolutely destroyed Leon Edwards does require some respect on him.
Well, it's funny because in his lead up to getting a title shot, it felt like some of the only people out here calling for Bilal to get that title shot. He very much deserved it.
Yeah.
He was being looked over left, right and centre. And we were calling for him to get the shot.
Yeah.
And now that he's champ, I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's like the way he conducts himself sometimes just, I don't know, it just bothers me. I don't know. I want him to, because he's had this kind of not very interesting fight style and all that kind of stuff. Maybe this is counterproductive, but I want him to be a bit kind of like just humble with it and nice about it. Be a bit more Corey Sandhagen about it or something like that. But instead, he's sort of adopted this attitude of like taking the mick out of Leon and like that whole thing of like, oh, I stole Leon's belt, now I've stolen his opponent, because obviously Jack Della was supposed to be fighting Leon in London, and Jack Della got pulled into this fight because Shavkat's injured. I don't like Bilal's the kind of shtick he's doing at the moment.
I think he's just experimenting to see what might actually earn him a few more quid and get some more eyes on him, because he's quite forgettable.
Yeah.
And
which is so ironic given his nickname is Remember the Name.
Yeah.
And you are one of the most forgettable champions going at the moment.
Please remember my name.
Yeah, add a please.
Look, I think JDM's done well to get this title shot. Obviously Shavkat's injured, and the way that Brady's been looking lately, I think Brady should be getting, should be knocking on that door to get the next one. But Jack Della's legit, and I'd love to see him get this win, not just to get rid of Bilal as the champ, because I think as a champ he's done what he's needed to do, and I don't even think his fight style's boring. I think the way that he absolutely demolished Leon was fantastic. I thought he fought the perfect fight. And it's just, I don't know. The UFC fans are an interesting bunch, aren't they? They pick their fan favourites, and the UFC caught that and build that and fan the flames and create these for your embeddeds and all of these things. I just think that Bilal just can't seem to get it. It was like DC when he was a fighter. Like, he just wanted to be liked so much, and I just think people didn't like him. I know you did.
I loved DC, yeah. I have no problem with DC.
But yeah, I just think you've got to be careful, because I think he's trying a bit too hard. And like you say, he's alienating people like yourself, where you just think, shut up, mate. But if you are a nice guy and you don't really, a lot of the time, and I'm not talking about Volk, if you're just a Leon Edwards, you're a nice guy that don't really say a lot, you do get forgotten.
You do. It is. It's a difficult one. But, JDM's coming into this fight having not fought for over a year, which I think is possibly going to be a big factor in this fight. Also, we've seen JDM struggle with grapplers in the past, and Belal is, for all his faults, one of the best grapplers, if not the best grappler in the welterweight division. And the other factor with this fight is it's mad how far-reaching the implications of this fight are. Because when we talk about Belal Muhammad, we're not talking about a star. We're talking about a guy in now his first title defence and a guy that most fans aren't overly bothered about. With JDM, we're talking about a guy that has been out of the cage for a year. Yes, a lot of people do think he's good and do like him, but again, he's nowhere near a star. And yet, the outcome of this fight is going to have big implications on the division below, their division, and that includes the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet and arguably the biggest star in the UFC at the moment in Ilia Topuria as well. So, and I mean, I'm not including Conor McGregor in that and not really John Jones either, but Ilia Topuria is right up there as one of the biggest stars, particularly young stars in the UFC. All of them will be affected by this fight. Because if Belal wins, Islam Makhachev will have to defend his belt this year. Who it will be against? Is it Topuria? Is it Oliveira? We're not sure. If JDM wins, then that is the green light for Islam Makhachev to move up to welterweight, challenge JDM in a fight that I would probably favour Makhachev in. And then you've got maybe a vacant or interim title fight going on at lightweight. Probably does include Ilia Topuria. Does he face off against Charles Oliveira? Justin Gaethje? Paddy Pimblett? There's all sorts of ramifications to this fight now. So it's going to be super interesting. Even though the fight itself isn't overly compelling, the aftermath is going to have ripples hitting out everywhere. So I'm really, really, really interested in this
JDM wins.
Fight. If JDM, well, even if he doesn't, it still means that then the lightweight division has to play out a certain way. So it still has implications.
I see what you're saying.
But yes, if JDM wins, things could get crazy.
Yeah,
and that'll be interesting.
Looking at JDM's record, I mean, it's impressive, but the names on it aren't, containing the best part of that division. He's got that win over Gilbert Burns, and he's got a win over Kevin Holland. In
a fight that I think I remember, he had moments where he was struggling with Gilbert Burns, and then he got that finish
let's
at the
take
end.
nothing away from
round.
Gilbert Burns' grand game,
Yeah.
And a win over Randy Brown, Danny Roberts. Again, it's a very different story if you look at Belal's record. It's far more established fighters, with wins over Brady, Luke, Gilbert Burns, Damian Maia, Wonder Boy, obviously that no contest with Leon. But Diego Lima, just really good names.
You can't take that away from Belal.
Yeah.
He is a good fighter. I'm going to bring a question up about that in a bit. But if you... I'll say it now. If Belal beats Jack Della, you can pick whether he could do it by decision or by finish. Does he finally get the respect of the MMA fans? Because I don't think that the fans care or respect about him.
I don't think Jack Della's the guy to get that respect.
No.
From the fans and the casual fans, because Jack, again, like you say, yes, he's on a 17-fight win streak, and how many of them? 7 in the UFC. He's so impressive, but he's not a household name yet.
He's also not really the number one contender.
No.
Because Shavkat is, but Shavkat's injured.
Yeah, look, if Belal beats Shavkat, then I think he gets that level of respect. And I think he's got a chance of doing that,
Let's play a little. Before I want to talk about what I kind of think will be really important for JDM in this fight if he's going to succeed. But before I do that, let me just say, I'm going to say a bunch of names that are ranked in the welterweight division, tell me when you think Jack Della is a better win.
Sorry.
So for Belal, in terms of getting the love from the fans and all that stuff, if he beats, well, he has already beaten him, but if he beats Sean Brady on Saturday rather than Jack Della, is that more impressive?
No, I think that's about the same.
Really?
I think because, yes, Sean Brady looked fantastic against Leon.
Yeah.
But I still don't think Sean Brady is a big name.
Okay.
Which is crazy because he's ranked number 1, but I don't think he is.
Does he get more respect for beating Shavkat than Jack Della?
100%.
100%, of course. Obviously, he's already beaten Leon, but let's go back. That Leon fight, is that more impressive than a win over Jack Della?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think it is too. Kamaru Usman?
Yes, Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, even though he's old and he hasn't fought for a while, it's just Kamaru Usman.
In the world of the UFC, like... It's the media. It's not just the fight itself. It's all of the stuff around it. It's what they've done previously. And Usman is a legend.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to 2 more. Ian Gary. I would say it's more impressive to beat Ian Gary than Jack Della.
Yeah, I think Ian Gary very possibly beat Jack Della.
Yeah. And what about Joaquin Buckley? It's about the same.
About the same. I don't get too excited about Joaquin Buckley.
I think he's looked good.
He's looked great, but I just think he's an helmet.
Fair enough. There you go. But yeah, and so, all right, that was interesting. But I think I just want to mention, in terms for Jack Della to win this fight, I think he cannot get pushed back to the cage like Leon did. Leon's a great technical striker, but he does not have a lot of output, and he gets pushed back to the cage very easily because he's also very comfortable defending takedowns against the cage, or at least he was.
Yeah.
Like, he's very comfortable with that. He knows where he's at. He uses the cage very well to keep on his feet.
Yeah.
So he's quite happy being pushed back against the cage, Leon. Jack Della cannot make that same mistake. He's got to stand his ground and not let Belal push him back. And the other thing is, and I rewatched Jack Della versus Basil Havez, and I don't know if you remember that fight, but Havez came in on like 10 days notice or something like that to fight Jack Della. And Havez made it really difficult for Jack Della. And one of the big things is Jack made it very difficult for himself, because any time Basil Havez either got knocked over, or anytime Havez got to his hips and got a sort of takedown, or they were in one of those kind of 50-50 positions where he could have got him up, or he could have put him down, whatever it was, Jack would jump the guillotine. You cannot do that against Belal Muhammad.
Yeah.
If he's jumping guillotines when Belal's shooting in on him, he's done. Because Belal will get around it, he will pass the guard, and then he'll start landing the ground and pound, or just laying on top of him and stopping him from doing anything.
Yeah.
He has to learn from those moments. If he can keep this on the feet, he's got a great chance.
I think he's a more devastating striker than Leon. Yeah. I don't think he's as technical, but I think he's more of a ferocious striker. And he would have watched that Leon Edwards fight, and he would have watched the Sean Brady Leon Edwards fight. Sorry, he would have watched Belal versus Leon, and just realised, look, I can't fight like that.
No.
I've got to push forward. I can't be on the back foot, because that's what Belal wants. You know, he wants you moving backwards. He wants to get you against the cage, and he's going to, do what Belal does, and what Belal does really well. So I think Jack Della has got to push forward and be really precise if he's striking, but just have that confidence to walk forward and not take a backward step.
Yeah, I think he's got to do that. As soon as he starts getting pushed up against the cage, I think he's in trouble. And if he does make a silly mistake and start jumping guillotines, I think he's in big trouble as well. So hopefully he stands his ground in the middle of the octagon and we see something fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully that happens.
Hopefully he knocks him out.
Co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko, the 125 female GOAT, taking on Manon Fiorot. We got kind of more old guard versus new guard, a bit like Volk versus Lopez, where we've got an absolute legend of that division taking on the latest, up-and-coming star that's on a bit of a tear.
Who's looking great.
And is looking
and
really
rightfully
great.
Deserves this shot.
Fiorot's only loss was in her first ever pro fight, and that was to Leo McCourt. Since then, she, as you say, she hasn't lost a single fight. Confidence will be high. And I feel like if you were to ask me who's the better fighter, like technically, or who has the better all-round game, Valentina Shevchenko, head and shoulders above Manon Fiorot.
What about striking?
I think she's better technically, but my thing is I feel like that gap could be bridged between them, because not only has Valentina sort of shown signs of declining a little bit of late. She's still great. The performance against Grasso was phenomenal in the third fight. But she has looked like she's getting worse and she's getting older, and she's had, like over 100 fights if you're including her Muay Thai career and stuff like that. But also, Manon's so strong and big for the weight class. Like, she dwarfed Rose Namajunas. I know Rose was moving up from 115, but she's a big girl, Manon Fiorot. I mean, she looked big against Erin Blanchfield as well. And I just think that, that could be a problem. Don't know if that's a problem. That could be a real problem for Shevchenko, just the sheer size of Manon Fiorot. And that could be interesting, because I wonder if Valentina's game plan for this will be similar to the third Grasso fight. Take down, and try and control and dominate on the ground. And if that doesn't work, we're in for something really interesting, because Shevchenko, again, technically better, maybe even has a speed advantage. But if Manon cracks her, we could just... I'm not saying she's going to knock her out. I think this fight probably goes the 5 rounds. But it could just wear her down. And I think that when we did our Champions Predictions episode, I believe I picked Manon Fiorot. So I've got to stick with that. And I'm trying to convince myself that that is going to happen.
I think this is our moment.
Do you? I thought you'd pick Chevy.
Yeah. I love Shevchenko, but I don't know. I was watching one of the embeddeds yesterday, and I don't know, there was just something... Looking at them both, I just think, do you know what? I think this is going to be the changing of the guard.
Really? It's funny because Manon's not as young as you think she is. She's like mid-30s or something, man. She's only a couple of years younger than Shevchenko. But I do think, she's like 12-1 or something, 13-1, and that's after a kickboxing career and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really interesting... I think it's going to be a 5-rounder, but I think it's going to be an interesting fight, and I think it's going to... hopefully predominantly play out on the feet if Valentina can't.
Imagine so.
I think Valentina's going to try and get it to the ground. I think that's where she will have the biggest advantage. So she'd be silly not to, but it's just whether Manon can keep her off of her and keep it on the feet. Jose Aldo is taking on Ayman Zahabi. This fight just does nothing for me.
5-fight win streak on a tear in the UFC at the moment.
Who's Zahabi?
Yeah. And you just think... beat Pedro Munoz, Basharat. It's like, I'm going to be honest, right? Like, Jose Aldo deserves better. I think Jose is one of the greatest to ever do it, and I just find it weird. I mean, yes, he sort of retired and then came back, but what I don't want to see is a legend like Jose being fed hungry contenders like Neil Magny. And Neil Magny is a shadow of the fighter that Jose is. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's nowhere near the legend that Aldo is. And I just wish they'd make fun fights that the fans would be really excited about to see Jose fight. And, I know we've said it before that, we'd always like to have seen him fight Dominic Cruz.
That ship sailed now.
But
Cruz is retired,
obviously that's not going to happen there. So, yeah.
Henry Cejudo? That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Book something like Henry Cejudo. I mean, I know that he doesn't deserve it based on recent performances, but I'd be more interested in seeing Jose versus Sean O'Malley. That's a frigging great fight.
Yeah, the fans would lose their shit over that. Imagine the media you could put together for that.
And can you imagine the division between the fans as well?
Yeah.
There'll be all the old heads like me and you going, come on, Jose, and all the youngsters going, oh, screw Jose, I don't care about him, we want Sean.
Yeah.
And it would be fun. I'd really want to see that fight. That would be a really great fight to see. I mean, Jose was on a 3-fight win streak, probably should have fought for the belt back in like 2021, 2022. Then he come up against Merab Dvalishvili in altitude, and Jose still put on a great performance in that fight. Some people thought he won that fight because there was a lot of just holding Jose up against the cage, and Dvalishvili didn't do a lot with it. So a lot of people do believe Aldo won that fight. Then he went off into boxing for a while, got a few wins and a draw against Jeremy Stevens, funnily enough, who we've already mentioned today. And then he comes back to the UFC, has a win against Jonathan Martinez, who was a rising prospect who looked very, very good. And then he's lost to Mario Bautista in a split decision when, again, Bautista just held him up against the fence and didn't do much. So I don't know what the Zahabi fight is going to be like. I'm just not looking forward to it. I just don't... I'm just not interested. I want to see Jose do more fun things. I'd rather see Jose fight Yair Rodriguez or... I don't know.
Go back up.
Oh, sorry, I forgot that was bantamweight. But down at bantamweight, give me Henry Cejudo. Give me... I mean, I think he's already beaten Chito Vera, but I don't know what's in it. Give me Davidson...
Do you know what? I'm looking... Yeah, he's got a win over Chito.
Davison Figueiredo? Like, if Davison doesn't go down, I know Davison's going to be out injured now or whatever, but those are the kind of fights I'd like to see.
Yeah.
I'm not Ayman Zahabi. I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. I'm just not interested in it.
No. Like, there you go. I think that's a fun fight. Run it back against Chito. Like, yeah, it just feels like they're doing him a bit of a dirty. It feels like I hope they're paying him well.
They probably, you would think they must be. It's Jose Aldo, but who knows? Outside of that, you've got Grasso Natalia Silva, which is very, very interesting because this could very well be a number one contender fight at flyweight. We've got the belt being decided in the co-main event. And this fight, Natalia Silva, who I really like, she's got a really fun style. I think she did taekwondo for a long time, and that comes through a lot. She's very bouncy, like lots of kicks, strong. Like she did a great kind of like sidekick on Jessica Andrade when they fought, and it sent Jessica Andrade flying across the octagon. Like, she is a really, really fun fighter, Natalia Silva.
I mean, this is a big step for her. She's ranked 13.
Yeah. But she's on a 6-fight win streak.
Yeah. And you got to feel a little bit for Grasso, really, haven't you? Like, to...
I've put Natalia Silva down as ranked 5th.
No, that's not what I've got here. I've got Manon Ferro at 5.
Well, we're going to have a fight about this. You're right, Manon Ferro. Why have I got Natalia? That's weird. Yeah, she's down at 13.
Yeah. God, you keep getting stuff wrong.
I do keep getting stuff wrong. What's going on there? Oh, no, you're looking at the pound for pound. You're looking at pound for pound. Natalia Silva is ranked 5. Manon Ferro is ranked 2.
Bollocks.
You moron.
How happy you are.
Yeah, 2 right. I can't get 2 wrong in one day. Yeah, Natalia Silva is ranked 5th. Right. Alexa Grasso ranked 1. But it's an interesting one because if Valentina Shevchenko beats Manon Ferro and Grasso wins, I'm not sure that they give Grasso another shot because that was such a dominant win. Yeah. So I don't know what... But if... Manon Ferro wins and Grasso wins, Grasso could go straight into a title shot. She's a former champion. She's a big name. People know who she is. You could do Manon Ferro versus Grasso straight away after this fight, no problem.
Have we got Blanchfield Barber coming up?
I'll have to look that one up. Or you could look that one up.
I think that might be a fight that's coming soon. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am.
But I do think if Natalia Silva wins, she could take on either Manon Ferro or Valentina Shevchenko. She'd be on a 7-fight win streak. I think she'd very much deserve it. She beats the number one person in the division. Then surely that's it. I'm pretty sure Natalia Silva is fighting for a title shot, and Alexa Grasso is fighting for a title shot if Manon Ferro wins. So I think there's a lot to be said there. I don't know where Erin Blanchfield and Macy Barber come into this, but Blanchfield is obviously, she lost to Manon Ferro already. So I don't think that
she's fighting Macy Barber.
Well, that's a good fight.
Yeah,
but I don't know that either of them are getting a title shot next. And it'll be interesting to see how Grasso bounces back. That was a demoralising loss to Valentina Shevchenko. She got really found out. She struggled with the grappling. Valentina took her down time and time again, and she really, really struggled. Obviously, that's not part of Natalia Silva's game plan. She won't be able to take Grasso down. If anything, I think Grasso might be looking for takedowns against Natalia Silva. But yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that fight plays out. And I do think there's a higher probability, especially if Natalia Silva wins, that the winner of that is fighting for the belt.
Benoit's obviously, there's been no replacement opponent announced, which is disappointing because Benoit is always a super fun fighter to watch.
So is Joel Alvarez.
Yeah.
Really fun. Joel Alvarez on a 3-fight win streak, all stoppages.
Yeah.
Benoit's got a lot of rebuilding to do. Dustin Poirier beat him up. And then after Benoit looked good, I think in round 1, Poirier got hold of him. And then he got absolutely destroyed by Moicano. So it'll be very interesting to see if they get a replacement to fight Benoit Saint-Denis, to see how Benoit fares after getting so resoundingly beaten by Moicano. But yeah, I hope Alvarez recovers soon from whatever's going on with him, because I was really looking forward to this fight. I thought Joel Alvarez versus Benoit Saint-Denis would be a cracking fight.
Yeah.
But that is now off the card. Jessica Andrade is fighting Yasmin Yazdavicius. Andrade 2-4 in her last 6. She's still a threat. You know, her only losses are to good people, really. Yasmin Yazdavicius, you know, she's looked good lately. 4-fight win streak, 2 submissions, both by Darce choke. And Andrade has lost by submission 4 times in her career. So I don't think there's any prizes for guessing what Yasmin Yazdavicius is going to be trying to do.
Yeah, of course.
She's going to be trying to take her down, trying to get that choke, avoid the big strikes of Jessica Andrade. We'll see how that goes. I don't really know what's at stake there as of yet, but interesting fight. And then one of our former guests, Modestas Bukauskas, is on the card taking on Ion Cutelaba.
I mean, that's a fun fight. And
fun fight.
Top lad Modestas was as well. Go back, check out that show. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the face-off.
2 finishes in his last 2 fights, Modestas. And Cutelaba, I believe, is on a 2-fight win streak as well. So I'm not sure that either guy will get like a ranked opponent next or anything like that. But it'll be interesting. And I think it's a step up for Modestas. And I think it'll be mentally challenging as well, because you know Ion Cutelaba always brings it. Like even at the weigh-ins and the face-offs.
Yeah, of course.
You know, he's screaming in people's faces. Sometimes he's painting his face green.
It's a bit boring now, though, because people know it's coming. And it's like, now you think, oh, you're just going to get it done now, right? Yes, okay, that's your thing. But I think Modestas has been training up with Tom for a long time now. And, you know, like you say, previous outings you've seen, his game really evolved. So I'm hoping that this is another win for Modestas. And we see him, you know, crack into that top 15. Yep,
that'd be really, really good. I hope so too. I think that is about all I've got notes-wise. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, nothing else.
That's it. At all. Your feelings? How you doing?
Like, Fat Candy. Should mention that again.
Yeah, fatcandy.com. Sweet MMA is the discount code for
MMA.
You there.
You sick of my face yet?
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.